I live? Yeehaw! Hello, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm here 5 minutes early. Hopefully, we can get more people to come in and whatnot. But thank you to you guys, 10 people that are already here. Yeehaw! While we are here, while we're just getting started, I might just go and make a post for Instagram, and you're very free to follow me on Instagram, of course, as well, if you want to. Gittemary is the name. Hello. Oh, I'm super excited. Also, I have a little drink here next to me. This is rhubarb syrup and sparkling water, and it matches my dress. Who would have thunk? Okay, so, oh, that's nice. Cool. Hello, Rob. It's good to see you again. And I'm just going to come out here and say the sound, image, and quality might differ throughout the live stream, and hopefully you guys are going to be okay. The entire live stream will, however, also be up afterwards, so you can go and see it again if there's something you thought, what was it that she actually said? You can go and rewatch it, and if you're suddenly disconnected or anything like that, you can also go and rewatch it, so you won't miss the rest of it, of course. There's not really anything I can do regarding like quality and like sound, and if anything goes off, we're just gonna keep soldiering on and hope that it will go okay. But while we are just waiting, feel free to share the link on your social media. Feel free to share thoughts, screenshots, whatever you might want. And throughout the entire live stream, you can, of course, also just comment out. I think it's in the side, like in sidebar for you as well. Or is it the other way around? I don't know. For me, it's over here. And you can comment if you have questions going on. Everything will be totally fine. But I would love to hear a little bit from you guys. Where are you guys situated? Is there any, like, I'm from Denmark. Hello, it's about 5 o'clock now. And yeah, I'm situated in Denmark. But tell me out in the comment section where you're from, because I think that could be really interesting to see where you guys are situated around the world. Do that while I have a sip of this. Oh, great. Ooh, Poland. Hello, Monica. Great to see you. Great to have you here. It's cool. It's cool. And oh, and from Germany, Canada, Italy. We're all over the world right now. That's really cool. Great. Well, I hope that you're going to enjoy this. What's the time? I guess there's a time difference, but from Portugal. Hello, Anna Maria. Hello, good to have you here. Portugal and Italy, I think, is the same time zone as Denmark. Maybe. Cool. Or that we are from a lot of different places. I'm really stoked about that. I think that's one of the cool things about the internet is that it really connects us, doesn't it? Oh, I'm really, really excited about this. If there's anyone logging in from Denmark at one point, let me know as well if you're also situated here. But I guess not. I guess that's very unlikely. Anyway, cool. Florida, the UK, Portugal, Italy, Canada, Germany, Poland. We have quite a variety on our hands. But today we are actually going to be talking about composting. I'm so excited about that. We'll wait another 2 minutes before we get into it, just so everyone has a chance to get into the live stream. But I'm really excited about going forward talking about composting. I think that's something that anyone can do or anyone can experiment with. That's really, really nice. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I have some tea on compost, and hopefully it's going to be helpful to you guys. Oh, and we also have one from New York City. Hello and welcome. By the way, I hope everyone is safe and doing okay. Everything considered. I'm sending all my love and good vibes to you. I hope you're staying safe. I'm trying to. I'm working from home every day, and you know, that's how it goes. But luckily, Denmark seems to be opening up a little bit now. But I know different places in the world are in different phases, and it's all really scary. So we're not going to be talking too much about that. Just as long as you guys are safe, I am happy. Okay, but I think we are about almost there. So I want to introduce myself a little bit more. I don't know if any of you guys here know me already, or maybe this is the first time you see my face. That's also okay. Oh, thank you. My plant behind me, isn't it huge? I saved this. Actually, just one of you commented that my monstera is looking beautiful. I saved this from the trash. Can you believe? I know I have a supermarket close to my apartment, and they sell plants, and they were about to throw this away. So I took it home and I nurtured it back to health. Okay, but now it's 5 o'clock, at least it's 5 o'clock here, and we are going to get started. So I'm just going to introduce myself really quickly. Hello, my name is Gittemary, and I work full-time as an online lecturer and sustainability advocate. I have my own YouTube channel and blog and Instagram where I talk about all kinds of different sustainability issues, like zero waste is one of my main ones. Veganism is also something I talk about. And recently I've been making a lot of content about composting. And that's one of the things that have actually been intimidating me for a really long time. I have been working with zero waste for about 5 years at this point, and I went full-time a little over a year ago. Otherwise, I've been doing it next to my studies. But composting has been intimidated me a little bit. So now I'm ready to give you guys some of my experiences and tips. But I'm not here all by myself. I am here in collaboration with International Open Academy. And International Open Academy is a great learning platform. They have over 100 different courses, and you can learn so much different stuff. And in the beginning of the year, I teamed up with them for the first time, and I made a sustainability course for their website. And right now, if you go to, I think it's in the description here somewhere, there is a link and you can get the course for 80% off, which is pretty cool. It's a sustainability course that gives you sort of a good overview of many different aspects of sustainability. We have something about being at home, composting, cooking. We have something about shopping and fast fashion and electronics and construction, many different things. So if you're interested in that course, it is very cheap right now and in the description. And thank you so much for International Open Academy for letting me borrow your platform for a few seconds to talk about something that really flipping interests me. Just gonna have a sip here. Also, by the way, if you see me looking down a little bit, it's because I have my notes written out on here, so I don't seem super distracted with another screen or anything. So that's why, because we have some pre-submitted questions that we're going to go through. And then, as I said previously, if you have any questions throughout the live stream, feel very free to simply just comment out in the section here, comment section, and let me know if you have any questions, and I will hopefully be able to answer those as well. Okay. So the submitted questions that I was talking about a little earlier were submitted a couple of days ago, last week, like in that period of time. And if you submitted a question during this time, you would also enter the giveaway to win the course that I just talked about, my simple sustainability course, for free. Yeehaw! And during the live stream, I will also announce the winners. So if you have submitted your question, it's a good idea to wait until the end, because then I will tell who the winners are, and we all really want to know that. But yeah, then again, so today's topic is going to be composting. It's something, as I said, it intimidates me a little bit, and it's something that can be really hard to get started. It might seem like something you need like a whole other PhD in, like knowing about soil and erosion and different kinds of waste that breaks down. But in reality, it's actually really simple, because composting can look in many different ways. There's so many ways in which a compost can work. The most important things that you need is some sort of container. You need some sort of soil, and you need some sort of liquid, and you need some sort of air. That's sort of like the prime components. If you lack one of these, then your compost is not going to be working. And a compost is, in comparison to how we usually handle trash, I know for the most part, before going zero waste, I never really thought about trash, not as something that I owned, and not at all as a resource, because that's what trash is. It is a resource. It's something that we use and then we throw away. And I don't know, do you know this feeling where you sort of throw something away and then your ownership of that item completely stops? It simply ceases to exist. And with zero waste, and with this new way of handling and managing waste, like composting, you have to own your trash in a whole other way, because the ownership continues throughout the life cycle of this piece of product or of this produce that you are trying to get rid of. So composting takes a whole other look at waste and what that is, and uses it as a resource rather than something that simply ends up in landfill. And there is, of course, other ways of handling waste than landfill. You can also recycle some, but it's very often that recycling is inefficient. And depending on which country you're from, that varies a lot. But the overall global recycling rates are not super impressive. So handling waste in your own household, and reusing compost is such a good addition to a zero waste lifestyle. If you have ever seen like this 5Rs triangle of like the 5Rs, which constitutes like the main components of zero waste, they are refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. And rot is the last one, but in my opinion, it's actually one of the more important ones, because rot refers to composting, and composting is this circular system where everything is used over and over, and you can reuse resources rather than letting them go to waste. So this was my love story, love letter, and spiel about composting. Oh, there's something in my eye there. Cool. But let's just get right into the questions, shall we? Again, leave me questions outside here in the bar if you have any. But I will get started on the submitted questions. See if I can do it. Okay. So Where Walnut asked me how to get started if you live in an apartment. Well, I too live in an apartment, and I started my compost here on the inside. As I said, you only really need a few different components. You need some sort of container for your compost. You need as well some sort of soil. You need your compost to have a filtration system or some sort of air to get in, otherwise the compost will die. Composting is very different actually to simply just letting something rot. Because decomposition requires air, otherwise things will just not decompose. If you look at landfills, for instance, if you dump kitchen waste in a landfill, there isn't any air because you pile more garbage on top of it. So it can take up to 4 years for something like a simple carrot to decompose. So you definitely need some air. And then you also often need worms, but you can also do composting without worms. The way that I did it was that I found a secondhand plastic container, and it had like a removable lid, and I had my soil inside, and I got some worms. There are different kinds of species. I got someone from a composting company. Some worms that were apparently really, really quick at sort of fertilizing the earth, which was great. And then you simply pile your kitchen waste on top and turn it over in the soil so everything gets mixed. And that's the ground pillars of a home indoor apartment compost. You can also have an outdoor compost, and there are often also opportunities to have like a communal compost where you share the compost with other people. And then there is industrial compost, which is not something that we have worried about a lot, but that's something that sometimes happens if you have like a big composting facility, similar to recycling. And I can see somewhere out here asked me, have you replaced your stolen compost? I really wanted to get into this actually, because it would have been great, wouldn't it, if I had a compost to show you? Yeah, it would, except that a couple of weeks ago it was stolen. My compost was stolen. I'm going to get back to that in a couple of minutes because it ties really well together with one of the other questions. But just I want to let you know that that's why I don't have a compost here, because someone snagged it. What? I don't know. And let's see here. Won't it stink immensely when you compost in an apartment? See, I think this is also one of the other questions. But you know what? Let's do that now, because I think that's one of the more common questions that a lot of people have when it comes to indoor composting. And the thing is, because a compost is a living thing, and you can keep it healthy or you can keep it unhealthy. And the more unhealthy it is, there's a fly just right in front of my face. The more unhealthy a compost is, the more it will smell. And an unhealthy compost is a compost that does not break down whatever you put into it. But if a compost is healthy, if it works great, if there's enough air, if there's enough decomposition going on, it won't smell at all. When I had my compost out, and if you're interested in seeing specifically what that compost looked like, I both have pictures on my YouTube channel, but I also have a whole segment in the sustainability course with International Open Academy where I talk about my compost and I show you what it looks like and whatnot. So that's just a little plug there. It's actually, there is visual evidence that it existed. But I could stick my nose into my compost just right down to the soil, and it wouldn't smell more than normal houseplants did, because it was healthy, because decomposition was taking place. And that was actually really cool. And it's cool to say that, you know what, it doesn't actually smell because it's healthy. And that was also one of the things that kept me back from doing a compost for a long time, because I assumed that it would smell. But how do you know? You have to keep it sort of like, you have to keep it healthy and keep it, nice and tidy and whatnot. But if you do that, it's going to be fine. Let's see, we have another question from Paula. I wanted to know what to do with your compost if you're going away for a couple of weeks. I assume this is in specific reference to an indoor compost, because you can also have outdoor composts, and for the most part, those take care of themselves. The ones that I've seen have been like these towers almost, and then you have soil in the bottom. It usually actually doesn't have a bottom, so it just stands on the ground. And then you pour your kitchen waste on top, and it will slowly just disintegrate into the ground. And if you have that kind of compost, you don't need to worry about it at all if you leave town for a couple of hours. If you leave town for a couple of weeks, that's just going to be fine. But if you do have an indoor compost, I would make sure that your compost gets enough air and is not placed directly in the sun all the time, because then the worms can get overheated and die or dry out, which is not something that you want. And if you do not get the compost air, then it will also die, because then there won't be any air left inside, because what happens with decomposition is that it releases methane, and methane is not the same as air. You cannot breathe it in the same way. So yeah, if you're going out of town, what I actually did was that I took my indoor compost and I placed it outside in a yard. I have a yard that I share with more people, and I just placed it way in the back where it wouldn't disturb or hurt anyone, or anyone wouldn't fall and trample over it and whatnot. And when I got back home, I just placed the lid sort of tilted, so there would be plenty of air. And when I got back home, the compost was still fine. I was away for about a week, and the worms were still great. Everything was cool. And some potatoes that I had composted have starting to sprout out of my compost. That was really, really funny. So yeah. And see, we have some more questions here. How does one go about getting worms? Your local shop, Amazon? ? I went to my search engine and I just typed in buy composting worms, and then I found a local supplier about 50 kilometers away that could get me some worms. I wouldn't necessarily buy them from Amazon, simply because the far distances, it is living beings that are being transported, and there is chance that they could either perish or die or be really hurt and not great. Also stuff with temperatures and whatnot. So if you live in a colder climate, you won't necessarily be able to have them shipped very far, because again, the worms will die. But go and check out. You can also find stuff like fishing stores often has worms where you can use them. Then you're going to save them from a horrible, horrible fate as well. But I also heard something really cool, because you can, if you do have a yard or if there's a park nearby, you can also get the worms from nature. And what you do is that you go out and then you sort of kick your legs and tramp on the ground, and that is going to mimic the sound or the feeling for the worms of water, and then they're going to come up from the dirt, and then you can take them. My father-in-law told me this, and I'm super stoked about this fact, because I think it's going to rain. That's really funny. Let's see what is happening here. Is there special worms, or can you try and find them in your backyard? There are special worms that might work better, or there are specific species that either multiply better or fertilize better. And there is you can run into compost worm snobbery a little bit, but you can definitely also just use backyard worms. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Cool. Thank you for the question, Paula. And then we have Elle, who is asking, is it okay to have ants or flies in your compost? I would say to a certain degree. If there is a lot of pests, then it means that your compost is not healthy. Then it means decomposition is not taking place. But to a smaller extent, it can be quite normal to have a fruit fly or something. I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know how there would be ants in it. Of course, if it's an outdoor compost, then it would attract a big variety of different animals, and I think that should be fine. But for an indoor compost, I wouldn't necessarily see it as a good sign if it has ants. Okay, cool. And let's see, Barbara is asking, can I put it outside if I have no space inside? yes, you can, but of course, be cautious of the temperatures and the weather, especially if you have a worm compost. Again, it's a living thing and it's something that needs to be taken care of. So if your degrees go below 0 Celsius, I'm working in Celsius here, I don't know Fahrenheit, but if it's freezing at night, I wouldn't necessarily leave it out at night, because then the worms can die because they can't go very far around it. I hope it makes sense. The same if it's too hot, don't place it directly in the sun all the time, because then it's also going to dry out. But overall, you can definitely place it outside 100%. Okay, and she has another question. I think she has 2 more questions. How do you fight down the thought that worms are living in it? I don't know in which direction this goes, because worms living in it is a good thing. I think she means that it's disgusting and I don't want to think about the worms. And honestly, that's something that sort of just, it leaves your body at one point or another, that it's gross or whatnot. When I started my compost, I like stirred it with a spoon because I didn't want to touch it. But at the end of it, I just had my fingers down and I just sort of molded everything together and turned it over, because I saw it as a great resource and it's an amazing thing. So at some point, for a lot of people, I guess it's just going to feel really, really normal. But of course, when you start it out, it is going to feel maybe a little bit yucky, but just give it time. Oh, and someone is posting some good tips regarding worms. So that's cool. Thank you so much for that. Let's see, how to deal with non-worm composts. What do you do when it does not break down in time? See, with a compost without worms, which can also easily function very, very well, it will obviously take a longer time to break down, because you don't have the living beings eating, digesting, fertilizing, because that is a big part of it. But I know a lot of people who do have composts without worms, and what they did was that they took some soil and they took newspaper and ripped it into small pieces and turned it over with the kitchen scraps, and that also worked fine. But of course, it is going to go faster if you have living beings helping you out. Okay. This is great. Someone is asking, can you compost citruses? I actually also had this written down here, because that was something I wanted to talk about, what can and cannot be composted. So let's talk a little bit about what cannot be composted, because this was something that shocked me a little bit when I was researching myself before getting my compost, that I just assumed that all kitchen scraps, plant-based kitchen scraps, could be composted. And that's not actually the case, especially if you have a worm compost. If you do have a worm compost, the worms need a healthy environment to live and to thrive. And citruses are just way too sour for that. And actually the same with onions and onion peels. I wouldn't necessarily use those in a compost, because in larger quantities, it can actually kill your worms. And that's not what we want. So no, generally, I would say that you cannot compost citruses if you have a worm compost. If you, for instance, have a backyard compost where you don't have specific worms in there or anything, but you just toss everything and just let it break down, then you can easily, or not, maybe not easily, but you can definitely make a citrus decompose. But what I do instead when I have citruses is that I save the peels and I let them soak in vinegar for about a week, and then I use it as a homemade zero waste cleaning agent instead. So that way they're still getting used and they're not becoming waste. Some other things that I might also want to mention that cannot be composted is animal products, with, I think, the exception of eggshells. But if you have cooked meats, if you have dairy, I would not, under no circumstance, put that in a compost. Inside or outside, I wouldn't do that, because it attracts pests like crazy, and the decomposition is awful, and it just doesn't work at all. It's not great. So only plant-based content. Another thing that I found out couldn't be composted is, if you get like tea and coffee in these tiny bags, like these filtration bags, those are often made from 40 to 50% plastic, and they cannot be decomposted. They cannot be composted. That's where they cannot decompose. And that was something that really shocked me a little bit. But of course, if you can find some that are made from organic fiber, then they can be composted. So, and I would really love to talk about that cannot be composted is bioplastic, or at least many types of bioplastic. I recently made a video on my own channel about the impact of bioplastic, of greenwashing is taking place with the bioplastics industry, because it's often advertised as though, oh, you can compost this, it's a compostable straw, it's a compostable bag. But what it means is not that it can be composted in your home composting system. What it usually means is that it can only be broken down in an industrial compost, which use insanely high temperatures to break things down. It's not the same at all. So that's just really awful and greenwashing, and like, don't want that. So yeah, no bioplastic in the compost. We have a question here. Should I wear gloves to handle compost? No, unless you have like nails that you want to take care of and not get dirt under, then no, the compost is not dangerous in any way, or it's not harmful or unsanitary. Wash your hands before rubbing your eyes, obviously, and stuff like that, but you don't need gloves, which is, I haven't used gloves ever with my compost and I'm living okay. So, but if you, of course, you can wear gloves if you think it's gross. Okay, a really good option for small spaces that do not require worms is the Japanese technique. Yes, that's really cool. And actually, honestly, just going to come out and say that, not something that I've worked out myself, but definitely something that I want to try out. It uses fermentation to break down, and I think that's really, really cool. So definitely that's also an option. And I also really want to mention that even though it might seem super difficult or intimidating to compost all your food waste, all your kitchen scraps, stuff like that, start out and see if it works for you as an experiment. Try and decompose some things and see how that goes. That was how I started. I started by telling myself, you don't need to compost everything, but try it out, see what feels right, how fast it goes, just like create some experience with this. And that's what I did. So yeah, start out as a cool experiment, because it is lots of fun to see stuff break down. Is that just me? I unsubscribed from Netflix, so that's what I do now for fun. Thank you. I'll be here all week. And let's take another question. Oh yeah, Beth. Yes, you can review all of this later. I mentioned this in the beginning, but I can see we have tons of newcomers, so hello to all of you. And this will all be available after the live stream is over, so you can go back and you can see the rest of it. Let's take another question from Zoe. This may sound silly. There are no silly questions. But what happens when your compost gets full? That's actually a really good question, and something I think we should go over a little bit. Because that can happen, especially if you have like quite a small container. You can definitely get a compost that suddenly overflows, basically. So it's also important to use your compost in a constructive way. And there's a few ways of doing that. You can use compost and the compost soil as a great fertilizer for your houseplants, especially if you have if you grow herbs or fruit or anything in your house, in your window and whatnot. Use that, because your plants are going to absolutely love it. It's so good. So you can use it in your plants. That's something that I do, at least, and I think it's really great. And when I have had too much compost, I also just throw a little bit of it out into my yard, like into like the bushes. That also works fine. If you're going to use the compost, however, make sure that it's completely broken down. Don't throw just whole apples, like kitchen scraps, out there, and just don't plant a tree or like a bush on top of like a huge amount of compost. See, especially if it's inside in your apartment or in your house, see if you can use soil that's completely broken down. But if you can do that, you can absolutely use your compost for that, and you should, because that makes that's what makes it circular, and that's what makes it so cool, that you can use something that would otherwise just have been landfill waste. And I'm really there for it. I think that's super amazing. So, okay, yeah, I think I did it. Woohoo! I think that was all the submitted questions. So again, if you have any questions here out in the comment section, you feel very free to talk to me and let me know. But in the meantime, I am going to announce the winners of the giveaway, because I think that's a good time to do that. Let's do that, shall we? So the winners of the giveaway, and the prize, as I said earlier, will be a subscription to my sustainability course. And you will get my sustainability course. That's 5 different modules and just a general overview of sustainability and how to get started. And you'll get that for free. And if you do not win, you can go and click the link and you can get it with an 80% discount. So everyone wins, basically. mostly the planet, I guess. So yeah, let's do the winners. The first winner is Zoe. Congratulations, Zoe. I'm hoping you're going to enjoy this course. And then we have Ware Walnut, who is also a winner. Congratulations. And then we have Borbala, who is also a winner. Thank you so much for submitting your questions, and I hope you're going to enjoy your sustainability courses. You will be contacted either on Instagram or on email, depending on what media you use to submit your questions. That's what that's going to be like. And of course, I would love for you to keep going with composting, because that's really cool and something that you can do that I know other people have done as well. Leave me a DM or a comment and let me know if you're doing some composting and what you are going to do, or send me a picture of your compost. Is that like the sustainability dick pic? I don't know. Am I even allowed to say that? I don't know. I'm sorry, at least. Sorry. But share your composting options and how you made it work for you. I would also really like to see how other people are doing, since my compost is now stolen. And I promised you the story there, so let's do that too. So I told you I put my compost out in the yard when I had to go away for a week. And when I came back, it was still there and it was good. Potatoes were sprouting out of it and it was great. Then I went to have dinner with my boyfriend at his place, and we came back later that night. And I think it must have happened there, because when I woke up earlier, like that morning, I looked out my window where I normally can see it, and it was gone. And I went down to the yard, and it was nowhere in the yard. It was not out by the curbside where usually trash is picked up. It was just gone. My composting bin and content, everything was missing. And I have never, ever, ever been both so angry and so close to dying from laughter, because it's intensely funny. So yeah, now I have to come up with a new composting system, and I'm really sad about that, because I was really happy about my little box, which I got from, it was a secondhand plastic box that I got, and you can sort of drill holes underneath them so the tea gets out. And I'm just now realizing that I didn't really explain the tea well. If you have a composting system, what's going to happen a lot of the time is that it's going to, like, the liquid is going to sieve out, which is a good thing. You can use that liquid, which is called composting tea. You can use that in your houseplants as well. It's also great fertilizer. And there's just so many amazing things that you can do, guys. It's super, super cool. So, and also, yeah, look at the matches. This is nice, right? So I hope that you enjoyed this live stream, and please make sure to go ahead and follow me on any social media that you want to. I would love to have you hang in, or maybe you came from my social media. In that case, thank you so much. And check out International Open Academy. They, again, have so many amazing, cool courses. And you can also check out my course. It is, again, in the description. And there's just a lot of things to learn. And right now, we are all spending a lot of time inside. That's a great excuse to pick up a new habit or to learn some new things. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I will see you guys some other time. And I hope I can get to do another live stream with International Open Academy. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you guys later. Bye! And I'll see if I can turn this up like a grandma. Cool.